People wonder about your objectivity in this matter. Are you somehow on the payroll of Zionism or of the Jews?
Hey, I'm an Irish Catholic writing about the history of Jews that suffered under the Nazis. I have no dog in this hunt. I just think it's important as a career federal prosecutor because I thought the Holocaust was the biggest crime of all time. A lot of these crimes are never punished. There's a film coming out this year called American Secrets, and it's a history of America's finest families that funded Hitler. And that, I think, is going to shock a lot of people. I think that the American people are genuinely on Israel's side, and we're generally very supportive of Jews. I guess the truth is we give more of our taxpayers' dollars to Israel each year than any other nation on earth. The problem is that for the last century, our intelligence community and our State Department has said that whatever we might say about liking the Jews in public, it really is in America's long-term national interest to obtain a cheap and consistent supply of oil. The Arabs have it, the Jews don't. It's as simple as that. It's not about conspiracy as much as it's about economy. You know, if Moses had turned right and settled in Kuwait, we probably would have made Israel the 51st state. But as it was in every war that Israel fought, American intelligence secretly helped Israel's enemies. We were on the wrong side of the war. So I think it's not so much of an ideological hatred of Jews, although God knows there certainly has been enough of that, but it really has been a struggle for oil.
And how about in this current administration, you think it goes beyond, something goes beyond just wanting to maintain good relations with the Arabs?
I think there's a very polite civil war going on in Washington. You've got two agencies, the State Department and the Justice Department, that pursue their own foreign policy towards the Arabs. For example, they've been supporting the Muslim Brotherhood. The Muslim Brotherhood started off as the Arab Nazi movement. Hitler loved them. And then they worked for the British Secret Service, trying to crush the infant state of Israel in 1948. The British sold the Muslim Brotherhood to the CIA during the Eisenhower administration. And, Eisenhower's people used the Arab Nazis as a counterweight against the Arab communists during the Cold War. And the last time we took the Arab Nazis out of the closet was in Afghanistan in the 80s. We used the old World War II Arab Nazis to recruit a new generation of mujahideen in Afghanistan. And that's where everything went wrong, because the Muslim Brotherhood then became the parent organization of most of the major terrorist groups. So it's come back to haunt us. We've got, 90% of the U.S. government is out hunting Nazis and terrorists in the Muslim Brotherhood, and two agencies are supporting them. It's just crazy.
What about this Obama administration? Do you think that Israel and the future of a global Jewry is safe and secure under Obama's reign?
Yeah, I think that President Obama is a very intelligent guy, and I think he's woken up to the fact that his State Department sold him a bill of goods. And I think that was what caused the original tensions with Netanyahu. Netanyahu says privately he doesn't have a bit of problem with Obama, And I think that we're at the point now where a lot of these issues have been resolved. The real danger for Israel, it seems to me, is that its politicians are underestimating the harm that will come in September if the United Nations uses a loophole to recognize a new state of Palestine along the 67 borders.
Would you talk about your upcoming book, please?
Yeah. I've written a book called America's Nazi Secret, and the reason is I got a letter from the CIA last year saying I don't have to submit my books for censorship anymore. So I took the very first book I wrote 30 years ago. It was called The Belarus Secret, and I added a very lengthy introduction. So the book is a sandwich. There's new material up front and new material at the back, and the new material shows everything that was taken out of my book 30 years ago, what was censored. I'm going to be talking about that today, how the Nuremberg trials were fixed, how major Nazi war criminals were on the Justice Department payroll. The Justice Department brought them in. How it was the Justice Department that not only obstructed Nuremberg, but the congressional investigations into Nazis in America. So, this stuff has been highly classified for 30 years. Time's up. I live long enough, and I get to tell what really happened.
Where can people find out more about your investigations besides your books?
I do a little nightly spot on ABC National Radio, John Batchelor's show, so you can follow that on the computer. But I'm kind of keep a low profile now. I'm writing a weekly intelligence column for a little Jewish magazine in New York City called AMI Magazine, AMI. And after I do 50 columns, I'll put them together in a book.
Are you concerned about an unawareness on the part of the of American Jewry as to the history of the governmental bias against saving Jews both in the Holocaust and even after then?
Yeah, I think 1/3 of Holocaust history is classified. And the reason it's still classified is that we made an agreement during World War II to follow the British rules. And the British imposed a 75-year time ban on their intelligence operations. So the British are now this year opening up the files for 1937. So in the next 10 to 20 years, you're going to be deluged with a lot of information that shows that the Allies knew everything about the Holocaust in exquisite detail and worked very hard to cover it up.
And why do you think the U.S. worked to restrict saving Jewish emigres towards North America?
You know, the irony is that President Roosevelt wanted to do something, but the Senate opposed it. There was a headline in the Los Angeles newspaper in '39 that said, "Hitler says if West will not accept Jews, he will kill them." So his plans to murder European Jewry were very well known. Roosevelt couldn't get a single Jew past the Senate. And under our Constitution, only Congress has the power to determine the rules for admission. Roosevelt did smuggle in 3,000 Jewish kids. They were orphans. The only way he could do it was to label them prisoners of war. And he hid them in an army camp in upstate New York.
Are you concerned about a Muslim-Nazi connection that the Muslims have inherited from the Nazi ideology?
Yes, I think right now our children will have to fight against the second generation of Nazis. The Muslim Brotherhood, it was originally a Nazi organization, and it gave birth to Al-Qaeda and Hamas and Islamic Jihad. And when you think about it, the ideologies are the same. The Nazis hated Christians and Jews and democracy and Western culture. So does Al-Qaeda. So, we're fighting the last battle of World War II because the Arab Nazi movement was the only one that was never punished after World War II. They got away with their organization intact.
Are the Muslims carrying forward some of the Nazi both ideology and tactics?
I wouldn't call them Muslims. The people that are doing this are a small group of heretics. Most Arabs in America are Christians. They're not Muslims. And most Muslims in the world aren't Arabs. The Arabs are only 15% of the world's Islamic population. Of that 15%, only 15% belong to these extremist cults that have always been considered a heresy against Islam. And I think we need to join forces with the Muslim world and say all of us have a stake in suppressing groups like the Muslim Brotherhood because now they're trying to take over Egypt.
Okay, I think we're good.
Thank you.